What is up, duelists? Arts and Crafts here, once again bringing you your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! Goat Format action. Today's feature match, we've got Joel Anthony versus Pot the Master. As always, both players rated in the top 200 of the Duelingbook Goat Format library. At the time this match was played, let's hop right into it. Looks like Pot the Master won that rock, paper, scissors. They'll be leading us off here. Their opening play is a Thunder Dragon, so some chaos action once again for us all to enjoy here. And then we're going to go T-set pass, a classic opening, T-Dragon to T-set pass. Could you get any more GOAT format than that? I'm not sure. Let's see what Joel Anthony can do, though. Just going to go, ooh, so a little bit of warrior action. Most likely here we're going to go Blade Knight, set 3. So still give me 2 cards in hand, so not getting the plus 400 bonus. But I guess maybe setting stuff ahead of time in case they run into like a Morphing Jar, maybe. And notably, Blade Knight still is the only monster on Joel's side of the field, so while it's not at max attack power, it will negate flip effects if it destroys the monster. But however, it runs into a Gravekeeper Spy, so it will not win that trade and will not negate the flip effect. And Pot the Master will very early on resolve a Gravekeeper Spy against what is likely a warrior deck, and so that is a very solid win for the Chaos player. Resolving Spy, getting 200 or 2,000 defense walls on the board. Going to be really difficult for Joel to deal with unless they find some form of like mass removal or that like a Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. So looking good here from Pot the Master right off the bat. Has basically already stabilized for the most part. We're going to get Trap Dust Shoot here out of Joel Anthony though, so we'll get a little peek into what both players are playing. Joel Anthony's hand is pretty standard warrior stuff, Exiled Force and Breaker, the Magical Warrior. And we see Pot the Master likely just on Turbo here until proven otherwise. Known double T-Drag, also Faith with no spells, Sinister, and a Breaker, as well as a Solemn Judgment. So, depending on your back row, Breaker could be a good send here because with the token, it is bigger than your Blade Knight. Or you might just want to protect your back row. None of the other cards really do too much. Sinister could be annoying down the line. If Joel Anthony, you don't want to like get baited into exile, forcing your opponent's Sinister Serpent or something like that. So I could definitely understand. I think that the choice is probably send back Breaker or Sinister, depending on exactly what some of these unknowns are. Both seem pretty fine to me. Serpent's going to get sent back. Probably the more aggressive of the two options, because Sinister is more of a defensive card. And so this says to me that Joel probably has an easy answer to this Breaker. And they're looking to maybe get aggressive if they can get through these spies, which is still a tall order. But at least if you manage to get through the spies, you don't want to have a Sinister infinitely walling you out on the other side to deal with either. So making it a little bit easier for them to push through some offense at some point during this game. All right, go ahead and hide those hands. So Serpent does get spun back. Get to main phase 1. Pot the Master is going to go ahead and use that Breaker. We're just going to instantly Torrential. Okay, so Joel here saying, you know what? Let me just reset everything, wipe the board. It's just a nice clean 2 for 2, simplifying the game state. You were behind, so now you're kind of back to even. Pot the Master already used their normal summon, so this is a pretty solid tempo play. And Pot the Master's hand is relatively bricked as well, with double TD and a dead Magician of Faith. So I like this play out of Joel Anthony. Simplify the game state, remove these walls, and maybe now you can get a little bit more aggressive. Definitely makes sense that they sent back the Serpent instead of the Breaker when they had this Torrential around, so nice plays overall here from our warrior player. Pot the Master is going to set a back row. Could very well be that Solemn Judgment that we know about. We're going to go end phase Jar here for Joel. I guess maybe potentially worried about Royal Decree. That seems a little unlikely. I feel like you can probably afford to hold this Jar, especially because now you're playing directly into Dust Shoot, which game 1 these Chaos decks will generally have in against Warrior. Let's see if we get punished, though. Looks like no. We're just going to go ahead and slam the Breaker. Pot the Master has to make the interesting choice of solving this or not, or we're just going to book it, actually. Okay, so interesting play, because this is a -1 in the short term. I always talk about this. Book on Breaker. It's an investment. You're down a card temporarily. You at least remove the Breaker token, right, and protect your likely Solemn Judgment. But if you don't deal with the Breaker soon, you're just kind of down a card or half a card, right? Because at least you dealt with the Breaker token. So, a card advantage positive play likely here for Joel. We're going to go Trap Dust Shoot once again. So Joel with a nice little draw there. See what both players have drawn. So Joel has drawn Donzalug here. Oh, and so I guess Joel must have... Or no, sorry, that was Jar of... That set from before was Jar of Greed, so they drew Trap Dust Shoot off of either the Jar or just their draw for turn. This is pretty nice. Ooh, Knock is going to be kind of annoying because it will deal... Well, it does solidify the 2-for-1 for the Breaker, though, right? Because if Pot the Master's only out to this Breaker, then it just traded for Knock plus Book, and that's a pretty positive trade here for Joel Anthony. Not necessarily, though, because Knock is generally dead against Warrior, so it's like, what better use are you going to have for this anyway, even if it's technically negative in card advantage? Like, this is... You might as well just use Knock here, especially game 1. So Joel here, you probably just send back the Faith because these Thunder Dragons are dead, and now there are actually spells engraved for the Faith to grab back. And then the plan next turn is probably just start beating away with the Donzalug and whittle down your opponent's hand. So I think Joel here still in a good spot, ripping out that Magician of Faith, knock 2 TD in hand, and we're going to see the knock here come out most likely, banish the Breaker. Does keep a Dark out of grave, which is potentially relevant. But now Joel could get in with the Donzalug. Pot the Master, are you going to Solemn this? We know that has to be Solemn. Interesting choice here. We're going to let it through, and Donzalug can do some work here. We're going to start ripping out these Thunder Dragons. Set a back row as well. Looking good here for Joel. Ooh, Snatch Steal on the Don is pretty nice. That's just going to go through and rip out this Exiled Force. Wow, so top deck Snatch Steal coming in clutch here for Pot the Master. One of the strongest cards in the game in these very simplified board states. You know, Warrior doesn't get to have all the fun when the game state is simplified, right? Turbo is allowed to draw some good cards in these scenarios, and Snatch Steal is one of those. And suddenly Pot the Master finds themselves in a pretty solid position. Not exactly an insane clock here, of course, accounting for the Snatch Steal life gain. This is only 400 damage a turn, but it will, you know, if anything, you'd rather, as the Turbo player here, you'd rather just whittle away Joel's cards forever. They can just set a back row, though, to protect their hand from the Donzalug, which is a solid play. Just going to get in for 1400 again. I don't think you want to mill here, because you could get Dark Engrave for Joel, right? For like a top deck BLS. I mean, it's kind of marginal, but I feel like if you haven't seen... If they're not on Chaos yet, like, I wouldn't want to risk putting them on it. You know what I mean? Like, there isn't really too much advantage here. You get to mill, knock, and tribe. Sure, that's good stuff to know about. Also, Warrior plays, like, Premature Burial and Call of the Haunted. So why would you want to fill up the grave with targets for those as well? It's kind of an interesting point. However, Joel will get the top 2 cards of their list milled. Gonna gain 1,000 here in the standby phase. We're gonna Rhoda here, so just a little bluff set Rhoda just to protect it from Donzalug. And I guess now ready to go for the play. Kind of interesting. Could have used that last turn, but decided not to, interestingly, even though they didn't have a normal summon. So sandbagging this for a turn for some reason. We're going to go for DD Warrior Lady, though. That just beats over Donzalug. Oh, we're just going to set it. Okay, yeah, I mean, you've already seen one knock for Pot the Master, so getting a little bit defensive here seems fine. Not the end of the world. I feel like you probably should just attack, though. Right? I mean, I guess you haven't seen, like, Ring or... You haven't seen Ring or Mirror Force yet, but I don't know how much you can afford to play around those as Warrior when, like, your opponent has kind of stabilized. You know what I mean? Maybe the game plan is to just create a stalemate and gain a bunch of Snatch Steal life. Yeah, maybe that's fine. Maybe you actually don't really want to remove the Donzalug just yet, or at least make it awkward for Pot the Master here, because gaining 1 billion life off of Snatch Steal is actually kind of nice. Donzalug is going to go attack into the DD Warrior Lady. Yeah, you probably just let that chill, right? I mean, you don't want to banish your Dark. If the plan was to just do this, I feel like you should have just attacked over the Donzalug and get the Dark Engrave, right? I feel like if you're going to go for the set play, you should just let it stalemate and start exploiting the Snatch Steal. We're going to use the effect, though. That's a little bit odd to me. Yeah, like I said before, if you really wanted to get this Donzalug off the board, why not just normal summon DD Warrior Lady and attack? Like, yeah, I know there's stuff to play around there, but is it really the end of the world? You know what I mean? And then also we waited a turn to do this with the Rhoda, which I'm not sure... Maybe we were hoping to draw into something else to make the Rhoda choice a little bit easier, potentially. I mean, you could afford to wait a turn there. Just seems like we're doing a lot of like really slow stuff here, which is definitely playing into Turbo's hands at this point in time. We're gonna set a back row pass. Joel has Kaiku, which is good into an open board. Will it connect? We've got the Mirror Force. Okay, so notably, the Mirror Force just came down right now. So not to be too results oriented, but at least Mirror Force wasn't going to stop your DD Warrior Lady from killing the Dawn's Lug a couple turns ago. And now Kaiku hits the bin. Pot the Master still kind of trying to stabilize, wants to stick a threat at some point, or at least a flip monster maybe. Going to set something pass. Joel, top decks Ninja Grandmaster. Not bad. It is a threat. And that is going to go just run straight into a Knight Assailant. Okay. So they will trade with each other. Not the end of the world. Pot the Master just making these 1-for-1 trades. Keeping their life points nice and healthy. Notably, Joel does now have Chaos live. So top deck BOS is an issue potentially for Pot the Master. Both players have top deck Chaos available to them right now. Pot the Master is going to go set another monster pass. So just continually to apply kind of like virtual pressure to Joel, because any one of these could be like a Magician of Faith or Dequechi or something. That would help extend this small advantage that they have currently. Joel has their other copy of Knock, though. We're going to go Knock the set, hitting, Protector of the Sanctuary. Okay, so Pot the Master playing something pretty spicy here. Maybe we're on like a little bit of Desert Sunlight action, card destruction. Protector of the Sanctuary can do some nasty stuff with like chain links. And that's a lot of information given away to Joel Anthony about some of the spice in the list. But cool to see a rarely seen card here in the main deck of Pot the Master. So excited to see, I feel like this foreshadows some other potentially spicy stuff in the list that we'll see throughout the rest of this match. So pretty excited to watch this one. Pot the Master still in a decent lead at this point in time. Ooh, and looks like we found a Chaos Monster. Gonna slam down Chaos Sorcerer, get in for 2,300. And this is a big threat now, a 2-turn clock from here on out, so a lot of stuff for Joel to potentially deal with. Draw a back row, set it pass. Is it Mirror Force? Is it Sakuretsu Armor? Let's see. It is not. And now we get to pass with lethal on board as Pot the Master, and we're pretty happy about that. Another back row here for Joel Anthony. Is it something real? We're just going to ring the Sork in the end phase to try and go for game, and that is going to be game 1 over to Pot the Master on, I was going to say Chaos Turbo, but we saw main deck Protector of the Sanctuary, so maybe they're on some funky Desert Sunlight stuff with like some jars, things like that. Interested to see. Joel Anthony seems to just be on pretty standard Warrior, so being able to go first here in game 2 will definitely help them out. But I'm excited to see what both players here are cooking up for game 2. Let's hop into it. As mentioned, Joel will be going first. Gonna lead out with Graceful Charity, so a little Trinity opening. Always happy to see that. Gonna discard a Rhoda and a Kaiku. Okay, so must have plenty of monsters. Willing to dodge, essentially 2 monsters. Or dump essentially 2 monsters, I should say. So must be pretty aggressive hand here. Going to summon a second copy of Kaiku, so definitely makes sense why they discarded the other one. They are, of course, redundant effects. And we're going to set 3 back row behind it to protect it and pass the turn. Also could be Trap Dust Shoe coming through. Let's see. Looks like no. Pop the Master here. We're going to go normal summon Breaker. So do we want to pop a back row and be weaker than Kaiku, or try to meet over the Kaiku first? Age-old question. We're just going to Solemn the Breaker, though. So Joel's saying, you know what? I don't even want to let you make the choice. I'm just going to Solemn the Breaker, go down to 4,000 life points, but keep my Kaiku for sure here on the board and standing nice and tall. Wasting Pot the Master's normal summon. All they can do is, we're going to go Upstart Goblin. Oh, this is cute. Okay, set 2 back row, play the Upstart Goblin in case there was Held Dust Shoe, which definitely is possible here. Now they're staying at 3 cards in the hand. They can set another back row here, try and wall out this Kaiku, protect their Breaker from being banished. Interesting start so far. We got End Phase MST from Joel to pop one of the new back row, hitting the one that was post Upstart Goblin, which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine. Definitely some options here. Like, I feel like these 2 are more likely to be unchainable, so maybe you do want to keep them around in case you have like a Breaker or something in the future. Whereas this one, it's basically 50-50 chainable or unchainable. Because it was just set post Upstart. So yeah, hitting Raigeki Break, you're pretty happy about that as Joel. Just keep the game state simplified. Increase the odds that you get in with this Kaiku. Set a back row, activate Jar. So playing around Dust Shoot here, not sure if that's super necessary because most turbo players, most players in general will take out the Dust Shoots post side against Warrior because it's not that great against them. But you know, if you can play around Dust Shoot without losing anything, you might as well, I guess. Like if you were always going to set this back row, that's fine. Jar draws them back into 3 cards in hand, though, and we're just going to get in for 18 with the Kaiku, but Pot the Master has the Sakuretsu armor likely coming in out of the side deck to deal with it. And both Kaikus now in the graveyard for Joel Anthony. They do have still have a normal summon here to use in main phase 2. Going to set a monster, add another back row pass. So still keeping up some pressure. Interesting game here so far in game 2. Pot the Master going to go similar sort of play. We have mirrored board states here, but Joel Anthony up the tempo from going first. If this is in fact like a real flip monster or something they can do something with. It's going to be DD Warrior Lady. Still totally fine to start attacking with. And we're going to knock the set as well, so good sequencing there. Play around Torrential by flip summoning first, and then go for the knock once Torrential is no longer an option. Ooh, but as expected, Pot the Master has Desert Sunlight in the list. So let's see what their set was. We're going to Solemn the Desert Sunlight. Wow, okay, so just going to be a 2-for-2 trade at the end of it all. Knock and Solemn plus 2,500 life for Desert Sunlight. And the set monster paving the way for DD Warrior Lady to start making some pressure, or applying some pressure. And you hit Magician of Faith, so Pot the Master. I mean, I guess threatening to grab Upstart Goblin, which is fine. I mean, you might as well use it. You'd rather, I guess, lose your Desert Sunlight than lose your Faith. Also, if Faith is your only light and you have, like, a Chaos Monster in hand, could be good to keep it around. But unfortunately, for Pot the Master, Solemn will be invested here out of Joel to make sure this knock resolves, clear the way for their DD Warrior Lady. Joel is down quite low on life points. 2,500 is pretty scary, but they now have board supremacy in a very simplified board state, so kind of achieving the Warrior deck's goals. And they can try to start connecting in with this DD Warrior Lady here. 1,500 to the dome. Pot the Master is going to take it. Then we're going to set another back row main phase 2 and pass. So Joel Anthony, all cards here on the table, invested in this play. Pot the Master looking to stabilize. Pretty significant life point advantage, but you need to remove this threat. Otherwise, that advantage will vanish quite quickly. Pot the Master does have a monster to set potentially in the way. This DD Warrior Lady. All right. We've got Mystic Swordsman, level 2 off the top for Joel Anthony. That is an insane top deck to deal with this potential set monster. Gravekeeper Spy, for example, would just ruin Joel Anthony's day right now. Or would have if this Mystic Swordsman wasn't coming through. So really, really powerful top deck. It's going to deal with, okay, Sangan, you expected to die anyway. That's fine. You can search up, I mean, is Tsukiyomi good right now? Probably not. Even Gravekeeper Spy isn't that great because Mystic Swordsman will deal with it. So even though you're getting the Sangan search off as Pot the Master, do you really have any good options against this specific board? It's a little bit tough. We're going to grab the Sook, though, which can at least deal with the Mystic Swordsman and then pave the way for a future Spy or something to wall out this DD Warrior Lady. Kind of a long-term play, but it feels like your best option at this point in time. And you're just trying to stabilize ASAP before these two monsters do a number on your life points. But they're getting lower and lower every turn. So Pot the Master very much on the back foot here. We're going to send this Tsukiyomi in. We're going to flip down the DD Warrior Lady. I guess that's fine. Potentially if you like have Torrential Tribute, or you can at least like bluff Torrential Tribute later on. Swordsman, of course, doesn't need to be in defense position for you to kill it with the Sook, so totally fine. In fact, this way you actually get some damage through. So a little bit of min-max there. And notably, actually, this is kind of nice. 2,300 is an important breakpoint, because it is the attack points of Chaos Sorcerer, right? So if Pot the Master ever draws into that after getting a Light Engrave, or even has like Ring or something, that extra 200 damage could really matter in the future. So I like the play out of Pot the Master. Recognizing, you don't... Sometimes 1,100 attack points is actually enough to get over an attack position monster, right? It's pretty rare in this format, just with the general play patterns and cards that people play. But you don't always have to Sook affect the monster that you plan on killing with Sook, right? So good heads-up play there from Pot the Master. Gonna pass turn. Still no answer to this DD Warrior Lady, and if this back row wasn't out to it, I feel like we would have seen it by now, or at least used on the Mystic Swordsman. So gonna likely still take at least 1,500 points of damage here. But at least the Mystic Swordsman is dealt with, which opens up a lot of options for Pot the Master here on this next turn. DD Warrior Lady is now a 3-turn clock, though. So Pot the Master running out of time here to find an out. Zambira is a good one, though. It will just trade 1 for 1 with the DD Warrior Lady, so there is potentially some merit to not attacking with the Zambira, potentially running into a Saku or something, and just using it as a wall. But if Joel just has, like, spot removal, like Ring or something, although Ring is a little sketchy right now, but if there is just spot removal, like a Smashing Ground or something, for example, you wouldn't have dealt with the DD Warrior Lady. So interesting decision point here for Pot the Master. Do you attack with the Zambira? Do you hold it? Definitely going to depend on the other cards you have. And we actually are going to go for the attack here. That's going to come through. It'll drop Joel Anthony down to 1,700. And so maybe that's another factor in going for this play over the more passive one, because you are, nominally close to killing your opponent with life points. So an extra 700 damage or 600 damage ain't nothing to scoff at this point, I guess. It will get both of them banished. Notably, this does keep a light out of Joel Anthony's grave as well, which is kind of nice for Pot the Master. Neither player has Chaos Live just yet, which is probably a bigger deal for the Chaos player because they're running Sorks on top of BLS. But interesting to see that neither player has managed to secure or set up their graveyard properly for Chaos at any point so far. We're going to get Swords of Revealing Light here out of Pot the Master. Okay, that's a nice play. Definitely makes the attack play better as well, because it's kind of redundant to go pass on a Zambira and also activate Swords. So this way you get value out of the Zambira and closer to full value out of the Swords of Revealing Light. So I like the play here for Pot the Master. You could make the argument that maybe you want some redundancy in terms of defense here. But I like just like trying to get full value out of my stuff. Seems smart. Joel just going to draw go. 1 turn of Swords gone. Pot the Master. These are 3 big turns to recomplicate the board state, find some cards to stabilize, find a way to just deal 700 points of damage, which, we're in a decent spot. We're going to end phase Dust Tornado from Joel on the new back row. So they did have a Dust Tornado here to deal with the Swords if they so wanted, but likely waiting until they draw like an actual monster, because there's no point in removing Swords. It'll die eventually if you don't have a monster to attack with anyway. So Joel here, maybe telegraphing that they haven't found a monster yet, so we're just going to dust the new back row. Hitting Ring of Destruction, though, that's actually huge. I don't know if that was a soul read or not, but Joel there sniping Ring, and now they're under a lot less pressure. I mean, 1,700 still isn't particularly safe against Pot the Master's list, but it's a lot safer with Ring gone, so you're pretty happy about that Dust Tornado snipe there if you are Joel. We do find a monster, but it's one that we want to set here. Interesting. We haven't seen any flips out of Joel's deck, so maybe we're just setting something just because we can't attack with it yet. This is not the second turn of Swords, so only 1 more before Joel is unleashed. Can Pot the Master do anything with these last couple turns of protection? Gonna set a monster here. Unlikely to be attacked thanks to the Swords. So, could be good to set up for a nice, strong flip monster resolution. Unlikely to be Magician of Faith because that got hit with knock. But we do know this deck has Night Assailants, it has Gravekeeper Spies, which would all be pretty good at this point in time. Joel draws a card. We're going to just knock the set. Hitting Gravekeeper Spy, that's pretty massive. So Spy not able to be resolved once more. 2 more banished from Pot the Master's deck, so no Spies will be played the rest of the game here, which is really nice when you're an aggressive deck. And so Joel, obviously walled out by the Swords, but still making some progress here. Getting some stuff on the board. Nice Dust Tornado snipe on the Ring before. We're knocking their Spies. So now that the Swords is gone, maybe we've set up for a potentially big play here. Pot the Master, you've had 3 free turns to do some stuff here. But if anything, you've just been getting further on the disadvantage here. Especially because now your Swords is ticked out, and that's actually just a -1 at the end of the day. So Joel might have successfully waited this one out. And we're going to go flip Summon Ninja Grandmaster. Nice 2-turn clock. Ooh, we're going to Scapegoat here for Pot the Master. Okay. Really interesting. Okay. Scapegoat is not something we have seen so far. I guess it's not super weird in this more like Desert Sunlighty sort of controlling Chaos list. So gonna come out here just to wall out Joel Anthony. Definitely makes sense. We're gonna poke one. Yeah, and this is if Joel can't find another monster, it's gonna be pretty tough to deal any damage here. Now you're dead potentially to Snatch Steal, which is really scary. And these goats are just going to take forever to get through, right? I feel like Scapegoat is uniquely good against Warrior compared to like other aggro decks in the format because Warrior often isn't going wide, right? It's very much a stick one monster and then protect it with a bunch of back row sort of deck rather than a flood the board with a bunch of aggro monsters like Earth Aggro or something like that. So Scapegoat just ends up being really, really strong against Warriors specifically because oftentimes, even if they want to, they're not prepared to have more than one monster on the board at a time to greatly speed up the rate at which you can get through these Go tokens, right? Like a single monster takes 4 turns to get through the Go tokens. Whereas if you just find one other monster, it halves the time. So that's a pretty massive increase for just one extra card invested on the board. But Warrior just often can't do that just because the way their deck is built with such a low monster count. So Scapegoat here, maybe he was in the main deck and we just didn't see it, or maybe coming out of the side here, but doing a lot of good work here. It's basically another Swords of Revealing Light at this point in time, with potential for like creature swap or metamorphosis to come through. So really, really solid time. And this was held for forever, by the way. Pot the Master had this in their back foot the entire time, never sweating the DD Warrior Lady Mystics Swordsman combo, just holding on to Scapegoat for as long as possible and definitely finding a solid chance to use it. And we'll see if they can leverage these Goat tokens to the victory here in game 2. Let's see, do we have a Metamorphosis or a Creature Swap, or are we just using it as a Floodgate? We're going to go Upstart Goblin to try and find one. This does put Joel up to a much safer life point total of 2,700, but such is life when you play Upstart. Sometimes you just gotta fire it off. We find, I guess we knew about the Tsukuyomi in hand. Oh, from a while ago. Yeah, so interestingly, I forgot about this, but Joel flip summoning this Ninja Grandmaster, hoping to get in the 1,800 points of damage, likely not expecting the Scapegoat, because Spot the Master just held it for so long. But unfortunately for them, maybe they thought like, okay, I can summon the Grandmaster, get in for 18. If the suit kills it, that's fine. I've already dropped my opponent down to where like any top deck monster will probably kill them. But suddenly you're just potentially sacking your Sasuke for free into the Tsukuyomi. And so once again, Scapegoat, out of nowhere, quick effect Battle Floodgate, right? Even better than Swords in this scenario. Really leaving this Grandmaster out to dry here. And Pot the Master is likely going to gobble it up with the Tsukuyomi. Could eat a Saku or something. Or just going to Torrential. Okay, so this is Joel Anthony once again finding another nice opportunity, similar to game 1, to Torrential for basically even card advantage. Basically you're trading Torrential and Ninja Grandmaster for Scapegoat and Tsukuyomi. So on the face, it's an even trade here. And yeah, once again, re-simplifying the board state, removing this big Battle Floodgate. So very well-timed Torrential here for Joel. Keeping them in the game here, honestly. And Pot the Master is just going to have to pass there. Still no Chaos live. Honestly, with 2 cards in hand, pretty likely that they are Chaos monsters. So if we ever see top deck Thunder Dragon, could be GG. But Joel here, hanging in there, has had to deal with some very, very tough anti-warrior cards in Swords of Revealing the Light and then Scapegoat, but waited out the first one and had the Torrential to clean up the second one. And suddenly they find themselves back in a position where they could win the game. We got Premature Burial getting us some more gas. Show me Kaiku, the Ghost Destroyer, start ravaging the grave, moving those darks, make him even further away from Chaos. Definitely the play here. We'll drop all the way to 1,900 for this, but definitely worth it to get Kaiku on the board. Pot the Master has Torrential, though, but Joel wisely is going to solemn that. We are all in on the Kaiku play, dropping down to 800 or 950 life points, but we're going to hope this Kaiku can hit in twice to make this GG. So Joel here, once again, delaying the game long enough, and now we've simplified the game state, and all the cards are on the table once again, all in on this Kaiku play, passing with lethal on board. Key turn here for Pot the Master. Thought they had the nice defensive setup here, but Joel just proved to be, tenacious and find themselves in a scenario where they could seal out this game too. Pot the Master has just a back row to set here. Dust Tornado is game. Looks like we don't have one from Joel. Let's see. You're just going to beat in for 1800. Sakuretsu Armor is going to go through. No Solemn here for Joel. No Book of Moon. Nothing like that. Kaku hits the grave. Pot the Master will live to see another day. And now we're in a near top deck scenario with both players essentially one monster away from death. And we are just down to a top deck war. Neither player has Chaos Live still. Which notable... Actually, ooh, no, Joel does have Chaos Live. I forgot. The Ninja Grandmaster is the light they needed. So Warrior... I feel like Warrior wins top deck wars against Chaos lists when Chaos doesn't have, like, Light Dark Engrave. But especially now that Warrior has Light Dark Engrave. Like, it's looking good for the Warrior player here, most likely. But anything can happen when so few cards are in play, right? Pot the Master here. Show me normal summon Dekoichi. Show me Breaker. Show me something. We're going to set a monster. Okay. Just trying to wall out. Joel finds Rhoda. That's pretty strong. Do you want to be aggressive? Do you go for Blade Knight? Full power Blade Knight here. Only monster on the field. You know, if it's a flip monster, it'll negate it because spies are gone, so nothing else is going to wall out the Blade Knight. So maybe that's the play. Right? Because this could be like Night Assailant or something, in which case Blade Knight is really nice. Let's see. I'm going to go the Blade Knight. Yeah, I like the route here out of Joel. Attack over the set. It is Sinister Serpent. Okay, so Pot the Master finding the Serp. This will infinitely wall out the Blade Knight, so Joel will need to commit something else to the board if they want to make any progress here. Although Dust Shoot is a thing here. Did we just play into Dust Shoot by grabbing that Serp? Yes, we did. I feel like if Serpent is your only defensive card, you kind of have to. Right? But unfortunately, the Dust Shoot coming in here, held one for a while, waiting for Pot the Master to get up to 4 cards in hand. And you know what? Sometimes, you know, we always laugh about how dead Dust Shoot is late in game, but sometimes, especially against Chaos lists, they'll find themselves with a bunch of cards in hand late in the game. And that Dust Shoot that has been dead for several turns will suddenly become potentially game-winning. Let's see. So we see the heavy Storm in Joel Anthony's hand. Nice. Oh, and Pot the Master. Yeah, as expected. Oh, what a hand. Sinister plus double Chaos. Yeah, so had the dead Chaos in hand, kind of as expected. This is really tough for Joel Anthony, because Sinister is the one card that they can play right now. Right? Ooh, maybe, I think you kind of have... Sinister, they can play right now to wall out your Blade Knight. Doesn't seem like Joel can do anything about it. Heavy Storm's not going to deal with it, so living by their top deck. And you would like to send back Sinister because it combos nicely with the Graceful. But the thing is, Pot the Master can set up for Chaos right now by going Graceful, discard the BLS to get a Light Engrave to summon the Sork. So I feel like even if Sinister is really, really annoying, you need to send back the BLS so you don't just immediately lose when Graceful Charity resolves. Now, maybe if you have Solemn Judgment here, you can just send back the Sinister and Solemn the Graceful, but I feel like Joel doesn't have another Solemn. So I think you kind of have to send back the BLS, even if it's not actually live at this point in time. Gonna send back the Serpent, though. Okay. We'll see if they live to regret this. Interesting choice, but could be correct, especially if we have Solemn here. All right, show me the Graceful. Nope. Okay. What are we discarding? Oh, we found a Thunder Dragon, so we get to keep BLS in hand even. That's insane. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. I mean, maybe the issue is, even if we send back the BLS, there's a good chance that Pot the Master can turn on their Sork regardless. But I feel like there's... Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like no matter what, Pot the Master is going to summon a Chaos Monster off this. And so you would rather it probably not be the BLS, I guess, is my thought. And now Pot the Master finds a light off the Graceful to get it engraved. Found 2 Thunder Dragons off the Graceful. That's kind of funny, but honestly not the end of the world, because the important thing is turning on your Chaos Monsters. Now you get 2 lights engraved for Chaos as well. Show me probably Chaos Sorcerer first, because then if that dies, you get another Dark Engrave to summon the BLS, whereas the other way around, you don't have any Darks engraved, maybe? Or do we just go for it? Do we go all in on the BLS for game? We're going for it. We're going all in. We're saying, you know what? If you answer my BLS, I'm dead. But I'm going for glory here. BLS. Is it going to get through? Attack over the Blade Knight for game. Mirror Force from Joel Anthony. And is that just GG? Oh, we've got Zombira here in the main phase too. Okay. But now you see kind of what I was saying, right? Pot the Master, they went for glory, which I always respect. However, now they don't have Dark Engrave. They have a dead Chaos Sorcerer in their hand. Now, if Zumbira is to be dealt with, that might get a Dark Engrave. But if Zumbira is going to die, you might just die immediately, so it might be too little too late. So Pot the Master going really aggressive there, running into Mirror Force, still in a decent chance to win this game with the Zumbira on the board, but could have played a little bit safer and would have been in a better position right now. Could have even gone Summon Sork, banish the Blade Knight, or even Summon BLS, banish the Blade Knight, right? You didn't have to attack and go for game. But unfortunately, running into the Mirror Force here, and Joel Anthony will live to see another day. Snatch Steal wins the game. BLS wins the game. Any out to the Zombaro wins the game. Let's see. No, we're just going to bluff set our Heavy Storm. Okay. All right. Is this enough to scare Pot the Master? I mean, they went for it. They sent that BLS regardless last time. Let's see, though. Yeah, we're going to go beat over the Blade Knight. Drop down to 1900. Joel Anthony will drop down to 850. Sork's still dead in hand. Another card left in hand as well. Is it the third Thunder Dragon? That would be kind of funny. But if it's third Thunder Dragon, surely you tribute summon and summon the Sork, right? And now Joel only has a 1900 attack Zombira to get over here, which Blade Knight is now big enough to get over, which could be important. I'm just going to draw a go, though. Okay. Interesting stuff here. Pot the Master does not have lethal because Zombira, of course, cannot attack directly. But things are a little bit scary. Only 850 damage to get through. We are going to go Tribute Summon for Thunder Dragon. Okay, and this represents lethal. Is it going to be enough? Just attacking for game? Well, I guess we know it is enough because the Heavy Storm is set. And that's going to be it. So Pot the Master went a little bit aggro there with the BLS, got punished by the Mirror Force, but then had Thunder Dragon tributing over Zombira, waiting in the wings to deal the last bit of damage, calling Joel Anthony's bluff here. See what was in both players' hands. Ooh, we drew Tribe Infecting Virus. Ah, a little bit. Oh, that's so unlucky. I mean, it's not unlucky, but they're so close to winning, right? Not enough life to duo to rip out the Sork, and if they went for the Tribe play, Pot the Master was 100 damage short of dying. So Tribe would have killed the Zombira, Pot the Master wouldn't have died, and then you just put a Dark Engrave for them to summon their Sork. So two cards that could be good in this scenario, but unfortunately unusable in this exact scenario. And like I said, yeah, Pot the Master just calling the bluff, summoning the Tribe, or summoning this Thunder Dragon, attacking over the bluff set Heavy Storm to make it a 2-0. Some pretty long, interesting games here both times, but this, I guess, Protector of the Sanctuary Chaos Control list is going to take it down 2-0 versus Joel Anthony's Warrior list. Just kind of grinding it out a little bit better both times. Turbo doing the Turbo, or, Chaos Control, I should say, doing the Chaos Control stuff. Warrior just couldn't really create enough offense there. Was able to get us into some top deck situations, but kind of just lost those top deck situations, which can happen, of course, sometimes. And Pot the Master is going to take it all the way to the bank. Cool match today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I will catch you all next time.